everyone, I'm Dontae and this is Dontae Dakara, and this is going to be a long one. So there are going to be chapters listed below as well as here on the screen for those of you who want to skip around. So the purpose of this video is a little bit different from the videos I've done in the past. I've talked about being a teacher here in Japan, but this video is exclusively for those that are going to be teaching and or living in Japan. So that's quite a bit of information. So I want to make sure that no one wastes your time and you could jump around. So again, those chapters are available below, as well as the timestamps that you've seen here on the screen. If you're interested in the life and times of me in Japan, as well as some of the other story-driven content, then of course subscribe. I would definitely appreciate that. So who am I? If you are new to this channel or you are just seeing this video because it was in your suggested column, welcome. My name is Dontae. I've been teaching in Japan for almost 4 years now. I'm currently a mentor with the Interac Corporation. That position just means, or that title just means that I'm here to help the teachers that are within my area in Japan. Some background information. Before I was a teacher in Japan, I was a military member for about 10 years. So the way I go about preparation is with that kind of background in mind, which is why I thought it would be good to get a video put together that is really about giving you as much information as possible, as direct as possible, because some people might want to beat around the bush and some people might want to give superfluous information that might not be what you might want to hear. So my intro finished. Let's get right into it. So again, these are going to be broken up into chapters. Our first chapter is going to be Before You Come. So some notes about before you come. Of course, right now you're probably packing or you're worried about what you're going to pack. I won't tell you what to pack, but I will tell you this, that you have the capability of sending things after the fact. Think about doing that. If you have the ability to send something after the fact, think about doing that. And there are different companies that you can go through doing that. At the time, I used sendmyluggage.com. It's a company that usually specialized in sending baggage and boxes for college students or people who are going on trips abroad who didn't want to bring them on the plane with them. They would ship them through that company that used FedEx as their proprietary system of shippage. And anyway, that was one of the companies that I used. If you could get a family member who could send it after, that would be a thing too. To note, if you're looking at this video during the coronavirus, understand that their shipping is going to be delayed. For example, I had a box that was sent to me that just had candy in it. That box was shipped on December the 13th. I didn't receive that box until January 6th. So that was about a month. Usually, you would have about 1 week to 10-day turnaround for luggage. But understand that if you are getting something shipped, there is going to be some time slippage. This next thing I'll talk about is savings. So you were told by whomever company that you were hired by, if you're by Interac, you were told a specific number to save before you came to Japan. And a lot of you are wondering, do I need that much money? Yes and no. So depending on the situation of where you're going to live and what is provided for you at that particular place, you may need more or you may need less. When I say need, that's really an individual criterion. So we'll go over apartments later on, but I will say err on the side of caution and save more. No one's ever been mad that they saved too much, but people have definitely been hurting when they didn't save enough. So for me, I saved about $6,000 to $7,000 before I came here. And understand the way the checking system works and how you're going to get paid. In Japan, it's usually a month late. So let's say you get here in April. You won't get paid for all the work you do in April until May. And then so on and so forth. So that means you're going through all of April without getting paid and all of May without getting paid until May the 20th. And then you're getting that paycheck from what you did in April. And if you didn't work a full month in April, then that's only going to be a small check. So kind of understand that. And then also understanding what kind of apartment situation you're going into before you kind of make that savings goal. The last thing I'll say is don't forget some of the things that you need to survive in the States, so, or wherever you're from, excuse me. So that means, like, if you're on certain medications, make sure you get those forms filled out to be able to import your medications. Make sure you have enough and the legal amount that you can carry, so that you're able to survive. Birth control, for anyone out there who is using that, please bring that as well, because birth control is a little bit more expensive here than it is stateside, and also your national health insurance does not cover that. We'll go over that later in the insurance section, as well as vitamins, for those of you who are taking supplements, protein if you really need it that bad, where you need to have it in your luggage, then of course bring that, and any of those other things of the like. I will also say bring some cosmetic goods that you know work with you, skincare goods that you know work for you, until you find something that's comparable or comparable in Japan to take care of you. This also applies to deodorant. You've probably heard the rumors about the deodorant not being as expected for some of the people who are, your high sweaters, your people who are working pretty hard in the gym or what have you. Even if you're not, the summers are hot and you will sweat and you will stink, and if you're using Japanese deodorant, it might not work. So bring enough with you. I did some extreme couponing before I got here to make sure that I had enough deodorant. I'm still using deodorant 3 years later that I saved for when I got here. Yeah, I was that crazy about couponing. Yes, I use deodorant every day. I'm not one of those stinky people. So go ahead and think about that. Also think about the fact that you can, again, have that shipped over later on. And there are other ways that you can import things after the fact, Amazon and so on and so forth. So those are some of the considerations that I've heard about. I've also heard about clothing and what to wear. I would, if I were you, I would think about looking at capsule wardrobes. And what that is it's a few basics that are flexible that you can wear with a bunch of different things. For example, I used a capsule style where I had 4 pair of pants. All were from Lululemon because I knew I was going to be riding my bike, so they were anti-ball crushing pants, they're ABC pants and commission pants. And then I had 4 blazers, 5 blazers. One color was a little bit off, that was different, that I could just mix and match with the pants, as well as 4 shirts that were white, and then 1 shirt that wasn't white, as well as I think like 20 ties, which allow for at least 100 different combinations, so that you're not really relying on and heavily thinking about how much you're going to have to shop once you get here. If you have a capsule wardrobe, you won't have to worry about that. So that completes the before you come section. The next section is at the airport. Okay, so you've just arrived and you're at the airport. Now, some things to understand. If you brought a lot of baggage with you, and I know that some companies tell you that they're going to ship your bags to wherever you are going to be living, if it's going to be far, or you're going to have to take it with you to the hotel and take it on to the place that you're going to go to, which means you're going to be taking it on the train. What I would suggest is, if you know that you have more baggage that they're going to ship, or it's going to be really tiresome and it's going to be a lot of effort, and it's going to be hectic, and you don't want to deal with all of that, and you already know where you're going to live, you have the address and all of that, you can schedule the shipping of your baggage from the airport, and then have it shipped to wherever you're going to be located after the fact, and then have it scheduled so that when you arrive at your new place, well, those bags will arrive right after you. A good thing to note about this is that it's not very expensive, and if you have like all of the things that you really need in your carry-on, which I would suggest having the very important things in your carry-on anyway, as well as some clothes just in case your bag gets lost, then it minimizes your effort of having to bring something to the hotel with you, and it just makes it so much easier when you're riding the train or you're transitioning from one place to another. Again, this is about making the easiest transitions possible. The next thing I would say is, if you haven't already done your currency exchange wherever you're from, which you probably would have gotten a better rate, then you're going to have to do some exchange at the airport, which is not as good of a rate, but it is available for you to do that there. There are other places that you can exchange, but do not depend on the fact that you could possibly exchange later on. Another thing you can do is, if you have a foreign debit card. You can use your foreign debit card in most ATMs that are marked with international banks, so you can pull out money that way. Of course, you're gonna have to pay a fee for whatever bank you have, but that is one option that you do have as opposed to going through some exchange service. So that completes the at the airport section. Very short, but let's get on to the getting on. So the next part is after the training. I'm not going to go over the training portion because, well, honestly, that training is something that's going to be unique to you, unique to your situation, unique to your company. And for those of you who are in Interac, I trust that you're going to get enough training to survive. That being said, I'm going to note that your training is not going to be everything that you possibly need to know. It's going to be just enough to cover the broad strokes. But later on, as you get to whatever your assignment is, you're going to figure out what works best for you. Let me say this again. You're going to figure out what works best for you. And of course, you're going to have support systems. You're going to have mentors like me. You're going to have other people that are there, predecessors or head teachers or things like that can help you with whatever problems you might have on the job. But again, you're going to be charged with trying to figure out the best system for you. Like video games, your training is really just a tutorial. The game really opens up here after the training. So after the training, you're going to be going to wherever your assignment is. You're going to be going to wherever you live, and you're going to, you're going to be setting up your life. And we're going to be talking about how all of that's going to be set up. But just really take a moment and kind of take a deep breath, because the whirlwind truly begins after the training. So now let's get into the after the training section. Or rather, we're finished with the after the training section. Let's get into the moving in section. Moving in. So this section is going to be quite a bit of information, but it's just on the moving in. And note that when you're moving in, there's going to be more to it than just putting your stuff into your apartment. So the first thing we're going to go over is that Zaidu card that you received, your gaijin card, if you will. That card is going to be used at City Hall to enroll you in the number of services that you need to be enrolled in, from national health insurance to pension if you're going to be enrolled in that. We'll get into that later, as well as just registering your location, your address as it says on your card. If your address isn't already set by the time that you receive your Zaidu card, your gaijin card, I'm going to call it from now on so I don't have to screw up that pronunciation. On the back, they're going to stamp that new address on there. Next, you're going to get to your place. And of course, it's not going to be the immediate next thing you do. Maybe you'll have some pit stops on the way. Like maybe you'll have to sign a lease if you're going through a company that's not, or if you're going through some kind of alternate housing company, or you might do a lot of shopping. I know that's what I did when I first got to there, before I actually got to my first place. But anyway, you're going to get to your first place. Take out your camera, take out your phone, and record and take pictures of everything. I know you're going to be doing this anyway because you're like, oh, my new place in Japan. But this serves to protect you later on. Because while you are protected from normal wear and tear in an apartment, what's normal wear and tear? Can you say that empirically? Do you know what normal wear and tear is for a Japanese apartment? No one does, really. So unless you're a real estate agent, you need to go ahead and record and take pictures of every little thing in that apartment. Anything that strikes you as odd, out of place, broken, torn, ripped, cut, any of it, because you're responsible for all of it. And after you do that, don't just let it sit on your phone. Save it somewhere on a hard drive, upload it to the cloud. Make sure that you have it labeled so that when it's time to move out, and we will have that section here, you'll have that available for you, so that you can use that just in case they try to charge you with anything extra. All right, so we're done with the moving in portion. Now let's get to the furnishing portion of this video. Okay, so furnishings. There are many different ways that you can furnish your apartment, and let's talk about the people who already have furnished apartments. If you already have a furnished apartment, the ones that come with beds, a side table, as well as a TV. Maybe you even have like an internet server already there, or a server, an internet provider system already there. that's great. You'll just need to have some kind of comforter or the things that make you feel comfortable. You also have like a refrigerator for the people that are going to be in Leo palaces. Some Leo palaces, however, are unfurnished, and for those of you who aren't in a furnished place, I'm going to give you a list of companies and ways that you can find furnishings, as well as you'll see them in the graphic on the video. So the first one I'm going to mention is Facebook groups. I cannot overstate how important it is to join some of these for sale Facebook groups. People are always trying to get rid of something. People are always coming and going, especially at the ends of month, and that's when people get desperate. They need to get rid of these things, and I'm going to tell you why you need to pay attention to this here in a moment. But people are always trying to get rid of things because they don't want to have to deal with disposing of them. So Facebook groups are going to be your best chance at finding sweet deals on the things that you need and the things that you want. Next is IKEA. So IKEA is absolutely a great option, and they ship pretty much everywhere in Japan, unless you're on some isolated island, in which case I'm so sorry. I really hope that they've supported you with furnishings in that particular case. But for the most part, IKEA ships to wherever you're going to be in Japan. Now, remember when I said I was going to give you some information about disposing of things? You need to be thinking about this as you're buying things. Do I have a plan on how I'm going to get rid of it later on? So, for some of you who think, oh, I'm going to stay in Japan for 1 year. Okay, cool. You know that, so automatically come up with a plan with how you're going to get rid of it if you can't get somebody to buy it. And there's only two things I can think of, which is Soraigomi, which is your big item trash ticket, which is going to cost you money, or getting someone to haul it away from one of the haul away companies, which is also going to cost you some money. So you need to have a plan for what you're going to do with those things as you get as you think about, how long am I going to be here? How long am I going to be in this apartment? So on and so forth. So be thinking about that as you buy all of these big things to make your apartment like amazing. You have these big cabinets and so on and so forth. And then later on, you're like, yo, how am I going to get rid of these? No one wants these. No one has a car that can carry these and that can deliver these. This is going to be a big problem. So please think about that. The next one is Craigslist. Be careful. Craigslist everywhere is Craigslist everywhere. So you know the deal. Be careful. Even though you're in Japan, you need to utilize some common sense when dealing with Craigslist, whether it be being scammed or just, general common sense and trying to be safe. Next is Nitori. Nitori is Japan's answer for IKEA. So it's basically like a Japanese IKEA. It has everything that IKEA has, generally speaking, and they're made to fit in the Japanese lifestyle and the Japanese homes. You'll notice that the couches are lower to the ground. You'll notice, like generally speaking, you'll have an option of elevating them, but you'll notice that the things in Nitori are specifically focused on Japanese lifestyle, whereas IKEA is generally focused on Scandinavian Western kind of lifestyle. So that's definitely an option. Amazon is always an option, and Amazon is pretty good about having literally everything. I bought my bed frame from Amazon. You could literally get all of your furnishings from Amazon and not have an issue. The next one is your secondhand shops. This is the last one, really. Your secondhand shops are great. One example is 2nd Street. We also have book off, hard off, nantaka off, like insert word off. It basically means that it's going to be a used whatever that first word is. Your secondhand shops are great, and secondhand shops in Japan are absolutely amazing. I'm a big fan of secondhand shops just because of sustainability, but you can find, generally speaking, everything you need in your secondhand shops, your thrift stores, especially when you are in one of those older towns where your thrift shop is going to have everything that older people are no longer using, or the younger people who have older parents that have moved out. They usually take all the furnishings and things like that to those shops. It's a great way of getting the things that you need at a low price without having to search too hard for them. So again, consider the costs. Remember how I said your savings has to take you from that first month all the way to the end of that second month. So be keeping that in mind with what you're going to get that first couple of months to survive. Survival is, of course, the first thing you need to be thinking about not just comfort. All right, so that finishes the furnishing section. The next section is living and adulting. I would say that's the most important section. All right, hold on to your butts. We're talking about living and adulting. And this is going to be broken up into smaller categories. The first one is utilities. So this is going to be referencing your apartment. So with the utilities, the things you're going to have to worry about is, of course, gas, water, electric, and internet. Most people are going to have a gas range or gas stove. This is gas is also going to be used for your water. I haven't run into any other situation other than you having to cut your gas on and off for your water. Your gas is always on for your stove. So just be careful with thinking about if you've cut your gas off when you're finished taking that bath, that lovely bath. Make sure that you remember to turn your gas off. I think that's the only way that really you could be wasteful with your gas, taking 3-hour showers and things of that nature as well. The next is water. That's common sense. The next one is electricity. Be cognizant of the fact that your AC is going to sap it, but more so than that, the dehumidifier on your AC uses more energy than anything else. So in the summers where it's super sweaty and humid, you might think, oh, okay, I'm gonna use my humidifier, and then you get that bill and you're like, yo, what is this? That humidifier or that dehumidifier killed you. So keep that in mind. Of course, TVs, things like that, of course, are going to use electricity. Last is internet, and we'll talk about internet later on because that's a whole other bag of worms. The next section we're going to be talking about is taxes. Okay, so taxes. There are 3 kinds of taxes that you're generally going to have to deal with. There's your income tax / tax returns, there's your residence tax, and your consumption tax. Now, with your income tax, that's going to be based on how much you make, and that's anywhere from 5 to 20% of what you make, depending on how much you make. Your residence tax is also going to be a percentage, and that's also going to depend on where you're living in Japan. I've heard of some people paying more in some areas than others. I can either confirm that I've lived in Ibaraki, Chiba, and Tokyo, and Ibaraki's taxes or for the city that I was living in, was not bad. Like Chiba was a little bit more. Tokyo I haven't gotten yet because I've lived here for about 4 months. So 3 months. So I haven't gotten taxes from them yet. I'll get those taxes in a year and a half, or a year from now, because it's based. We'll talk about that. So taxes, how it's based. So your taxes are based on how much you made the last year. What that means is your first year, you're not going to pay any taxes at all. Hooray, no taxes. You're really excited about that, right? So from, let's say you come in April to April, will be your first time doing that cycle. So Japan doesn't know how much you make yet, so they don't know how much to tax you. Well, after that 1 year, in June, so 14 months after you get here, you're going to get a statement that says, okay, we know how much you make now. Here's what we're taxing you at. Here's the rate that we're taxing you at. So now you're having to pay that tax, and you're like, ooh, this hurts. Yeah, it's going to hurt more than next year. That second year is when they really get you, because that's where you're really and truly stabilized. So they have 2 years of data, and they can actually charge you that premium rate. So that resident tax is unavoidable. You have to pay it. Sorry, there's no getting around that. And of course, the next is consumption tax. Consumption tax is on everything that you consume. Note, you're also going to have to pay tax and duties on things that are coming in that are brand new. That's part of that whole consumption tax as well. So let's say you buy a sweet tablet from America because you got a deal, or maybe you got it from a phone provider because you got a sweet deal. Well, they're going to send it to you, and then they're going to send you a tax bill. Like, yo, I already paid taxes on this in America. Like, sorry, it's new. Yeah, dealt with that. It's a lot of red tape that you have to go through to get that money back, but Yeah, generally speaking, everything that's new that comes in through the mail, you're gonna have to pay tax on. If it's coming from out of the country, and then of course everything that you consume here in country, there's tax for that as well. There's also a like your locality taxes. Every area has their thing, so please note what that is, and also note when they're rising. Taxes rose a bit, I think by 2% a year and a half ago, and it was a big deal. Everyone tried to buy TVs and all this stuff before the tax raised. And just keep that in mind. Everyone will talk about it beforehand, so you don't have to worry about that. The next thing we're going to talk about is pension. The pension is probably the most argued about and infuriating thing for a lot of people here that don't plan on staying here for a long time. The reason for that is because they don't view the pension as being fair. Like, why are you paying this pension when you're not going to be able to use it? Well, simply speaking, if you know anything about Japan, you know Japan is an aging country, and that money that you're paying in now is taking care of the elderly that are here, and that pension cost is a flat rate, and that rate is 16,430 yen. So you're going to be paying that every month. Now, keep in mind that you can get that money back. So let's say that you have up until the 3rd year of being here, if you leave, to receive a lump sum of that money back, and it ballparks tops out at about $3,000. So keeping that in mind, if you don't plan on staying for the long term, then you can get some of that money back. So don't worry about that. Also, if you're not making enough money, you can submit a claim to say, hey, can you lower my payments because I don't make a lot of money, and they will consider that. So that is also an option. All of that is done at City Hall. When you move in, you'll be asked to register that way. Go ahead and put in that claim that you don't make enough money for that right then and there if you have your payment amount available. If not, later on, you can always submit that information. They will take it from you and then go from there and consider whether or not to lower your payment. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the employee pension. So some of you might not be going the national pension route. Some of you might be going the employee pension route. And with that, the employee pension rate is usually 9.15% of your monthly salary. Now, that rate is matched by the company, so it equals out at about 18.3%, and you'll continue to roll that over until you reach retirement age. So that covers everything on the pension. The next part of adulting is banking. So opening an account. Usually, you're going to be opening an account with the Japan Post, and that is the post office and the bank all rolled into one. To open an account, you're going to need your hanko, your Zayu card, and your passport. Now, note, you don't necessarily need a hanko, but hear me out. If you have a nice ornate signature, it's a beautiful signature, right? You're going to have to emulate that same signature every time you change something of importance at the post office or at the bank. So if you can't perfectly emulate that signature every freaking time, then hanko is going to be your friend, because that stamp stays the same so long as it's the same stamp. Don't try that whole switcheroo thing. They know. I tried it. It didn't work. I lost my hanko, and they were like, yo, this isn't right. You need to, it was a big problem. Wasn't a big problem. I just had to show them a bunch of information that shows that I am who I say I am, even though this hanko is different. And we had to go from there. After that, you're going to receive a passbook and a card. That card is not a debit card. Again, that card is not a debit card. It's a cash card. So you can use that in ATMs to get money. Small inconveniences are that card, or depending on the time of day, will be charged a certain amount for pulling money out of the bank that's not a JP Bank ATM. Also, depending on the time of year, it might be a holiday, for example, New Year's, where you won't be able to pull any money at all. So please pay attention to those dates and pull that money out so that you're not hurting later on. So about this bank book. So this bank book can also be used at JP ATMs, and it kind of is your old school checkbook style. You can see the running data, deposits, withdrawals, things like that. If you don't know what a checkbook is, I feel really bad and I feel really old. Please do not comment below, ask me what a checkbook is. I'm gonna feel like a very old man. Please ask your parents what a checkbook is. Jesus Christ. All right, so we talked about banking. Let's talk about ATMs. So, ATM fees change throughout the day, so make sure you take note of that. It's usually up until 8 o'clock, and then after 4 o'clock, it changes again. English is available at most ATMs, so you'll be able to do that pretty easily. However, if you're using the bank for wire transfers or using ATMs for wire transfers, English is not usually available for that, especially if you're using JP Bank. You're going to have to know the kanji for that, and I will put together a list of that kanji and put it in a Notion document that I'll link below to let you know what that kanji that you need to know is, so that you're good to go on that. For those debit and transfers, so the next section I'm going to talk about is debit and transfers, because I just referenced the debit and transfers, right? So I'm talking about easy ways to have a debit card in Japan, because maybe you need to buy a ticket home and you only have yen and you want to be able to use that yen to buy a ticket, but you don't want to pay in cash, or you can't pay in cash. You're trying to use something online. The best way to do that is there are 3 ways. So one, you can go through Sony Bank. Sony Bank has a new foreign-friendly banking that you can get a debit card with only using your My Number information, and you can get a debit card where you can easily transfer money into that and then use that card. They also have foreign currency available, but they're kept in 2 separate spaces, so you can't deposit foreign currency and then deposit Japanese currency and they be merged together. No, they'll be kept in separate partitioned spaces, but that card can be used both here in Japan and stateside. That's a plus. Another option is PayPal. This is something that I use when I'm transferring money to and from America, from one account to another, my account in America to my account in Japan, and back and forth. So I have a PayPal account that's associated with my JP Bank account, and if I need to use, if I want to switch money from my yen to dollars, I can pay my American PayPal account with my Japanese PayPal account. Sounds weird, but they're kept in 2 separate spaces, and you can't combine those 2 accounts because of the address. The address for American PayPal has to be an American address, and the address for Japanese PayPal has to be a Japanese address. So because of that, I use these 2 separate PayPals to do wire transfers to myself, and of course, I just have to pay the fee, that pay fee that you usually have to pay when you're paying something on PayPal. It sounds very complicated, but it's not. Maybe I'll do a video about that later on. Let me know if you want a video for that in the section below, or excuse me, in the comment section below. The last option for debit and transfer is Line. Yes, your do-it-all messaging app can also provide you with a debit style card. It's also a cash card, but it's a cash card that can be used like a debit card. And you also get points that you can spend on using, or you can spend on like stickers and things like that, or you can get cash back from those points that you accrue by using that card. And that card is going to be associated with your phone number and your information on a Japanese account for Line. Very important. If you have a Line account from America and it's not associated with the Japanese number, that account will not be able to register for a Line card that you can use for debit purchases. I'm warning you now. I had to make an entire new Line account. I'm telling you this. Don't be surprised when it happens. It's gonna happen. Also, that line card can be linked to your JP account, so that at your whim you can transfer money from your JP account to that line card. Let's say you're in line at the grocery store and you're going to use that card. You can check the balance on the card. You're like, oh man, I don't have enough money on the card. Right then and there, pop in your pen and then switch over the money. I think as of Wednesday, January 13th, the JP service is back on. There was a time of suspension, but now everything's good to go. Security's good to go, so you can transfer back and forth from Line to your JP account. Excuse me, from JP account to Line. It does not work the other way around. So be careful about that. And this completes the adulting / money section. But we have more for the complete adulting section. Let's talk about health, okay? So, for health insurance, there's two types of health insurance. There's the employer-based health insurance, and of course, there's the Japanese national health insurance system. You'll register for the Japanese national health insurance system if your employer does not provide your insurance. So, keep in mind that everyone has to do this. You cannot be in Japan without insurance, okay? So the cost of that is pretty cheap the first year because, again, they don't know how much you make. So that first year I was paying about 3,000 yen a month until they had some more data, and then it went up to about $121, which is about 12,400 yen a month on my health insurance, which is a great deal once I explain to you all the benefits of your health insurance. So you're going to pay that amount, but you're also going to pay at the doctor. So how do you use your health insurance? Well, you just go to a clinic or a hospital if you're referred, or emergency. Hospital for referrals on emergencies, clinics for whatever else. Do your intake form, get treated, show them your card, then you're going to pay. So I'm going to tell you a story about me using my card for the first time, so you understand how easy it is and how cheap healthcare is under the system, or rather how much cheaper it is for someone who's from America. So I had tonsillitis my first year in Japan, and I was really worried. I was like, oh man, it's gonna be expensive. Like I was like, I'm gonna have to spend a stack on this. So I go to the clinic. Clinic was very nice. I used my Google Translate because I didn't know Japanese well at the time. I fill out all the intake data. I go back there. The doctor's like, whoa, your tonsils are inflamed. I was like, thanks. He's like, all right, we'll get you hooked up. Writes down my script, goes to the front, like, all right, like I have to get this filled. They're like, oh, you're gonna get that prescription filled next door. Cool. All right, thank you. Like, all right, your insurance card, please. I give them my insurance card. They charge me. They're like, oh, okay, it's gonna be 1,000 yen. For those of you who don't know, 1,000 yen is 10 whole dollars. That's right, $10 for tonsillitis. I was like, 10, like 1,000 yen, 1000, and they're like, yes. I was like, wow, this is wild. So then I went next door. I was like, oh, they might recoup the money on the prescription, you know, like maybe it's like the front end service is nice, but the prescription service is where they get you. So I go to the prescription service. I was like, hey, I need these antibiotics, and blah, blah, blah. They take the script, like, blah, blah, blah. Cool, 500 yen. 500. 500. Go 0 0. Go 0 0. Cool. Here's a coin. For my medicine. Let me get out of here. No, but for real, it was only 500 yen. So, what you're paying into the system, you're definitely going to get. The percentages work out to be like you're only going to be paying about 30% of the cost of your visit, depending on whatever you're going to have done. So some extras. As for extras, you have to worry about the dentist. So cavities are covered, but the materials may vary. Whitening isn't covered. So if you're used to getting a whitening treatment, that's not covered by the dentist. But cavities are covered. So if you're getting a filling, depending on the materials of the filling, that's going to change the cost, okay? The highest cost is the ceramic filling, all right? So that's why you'll probably see people with gold or different discolored kind of fillings. They depend on the cost. That's basically it on that. Mental health. All right, so here's my spiel on mental health. Do not neglect your mental health, all right? If you came here and you have depression, for instance, I suffer from mild depression sometimes. So with that depression, I need someone to talk to, period. Point blank, end of story. We're not quibbling about that. there are services available for you in Japan. Don't let people fool you into thinking that Japan doesn't take care of people's mental health. They're getting better and better about this. I'm in one organization that I'm going to refer you to, and you can see the link down here, is TEL. TEL is a great organization that has referral services. They have suicide prevention hotline. They have people that you can talk to that can help you on the spot. And I just can't say enough about this organization. If you want to get involved with them, of course, check the link below. You can volunteer, you can get trained, you can use their services, you can donate, all of these things to help your mental health. What you came here with is not going to be solved just by you being in Japan. I'll say it again. What you came here with is still a part of you. Japan didn't solve that. So make sure that you're taking care of yourself, all right? All right, so another service you can use for mental health is the Japan Healthcare Info. And they're not just for mental health, but you can use them for pretty much anything. It's a site, you go to it, you can punch in and message them and say, hey, I need this, and they'll send you back some information about where you can go for whatever medical care that you might need. Not exactly the most personal service that I've used, but it's very useful. So I would definitely recommend them as well. If you have just general health questions, they can also answer those. For women's health, I'm not a woman, but I know a little bit. So women, stick with me. For your women's health, everything is generally covered except birth control, morning after, and evacuation services. You're not evacuating, something else is. So those services are not covered, but your normal checkups and visits, those are definitely covered. Like I said, if you have birth control from wherever you're from, bring enough for you until you can find a doctor that you're comfortable with that can get you the services and care that you need. Next is vaccinations. Vaccinations, voluntary checkups, allergy tests that are not connected to health issues are not covered by health insurance. You'll have to pay out of pocket for those. Something that people usually get here is hay fever. And there's also Japanese flu that people are usually concerned about when they come here. Hay fever, allergy, I think is not covered by your insurance, nor is the Japanese flu vaccine. You'll have to pay for those out of pocket. They're not crazy expensive, but again, that's another expense that you're gonna have to think about. For more information on health insurance, I'm going to put a link down below to a blog on Gaijin Pod. They give a bunch of other information, but I gave you the nitty gritty, the too long didn't read version of what they got there. They go really in depth with it. They do a great job. So I'm going to put that link down there just in case you want to read more. Cool. I think we are all finished with the adulting and life section. So thank you so much for getting through that. All right, the next section is options. And the options section is going to be cell phones, internet, and other kinds of options that you're going to have once you live here in Japan. Okay, so this next section is going to be dedicated to your options. So, of course, you're going to have plenty of options when you come here in Japan. And the first option we're going to be talking about is your cell phones. You're probably going to have to make this election before you actually come here. So here's the thing. You'll have a choice, and I'm talking specifically to the Interac people. Sorry for everyone else out there, but it might be good for you to listen in as well. So you can either choose between taking the Interac provided service or taking the self-service, finding your own SIM card. And there are pros and cons to both sides. So here's the pro to the Interac side. So it's easy. You don't have to worry about Japanese. You don't have to worry about the startup costs. It's a cheap startup cost. It's just them giving you the phone and you're having to pay from there. You sign a contract, you keep it for a year. Every year you have to retell them, hey, I'm going to keep this phone. I'm going to keep this phone. I'm going to keep this phone. Cool. That's it. That's it for the starting up with the phone for Interac. That's the pros. The cons are you're limited in how much data you have. Last time I checked, they change the plan every year, but generally speaking, you are limited. You lose that number if you change, if you leave the company, or if you want to use your own plan. You don't get to port that number over. That number belongs to the company. So if you are really attached to a number, I'm so sorry. You're gonna either have to stay with the company, or you're gonna just have to lose that attachment. Practice some non-attachment. A little bit of yoga might help with that. But yeah, you will lose that number. And also the selection of the phones and the selection of plans are limited. So that goes back to the data. See what you can do with that. But if you're a heavy data user, you're gonna have to learn how to go on a data diet. The other option is self-service SIM, or just finding a SIM on the market. The pros for that, you have your own phone, so you don't have to worry about using somebody else's phone. You know your phone, you have your phone, you're good to go. The next is you have higher data options. So because of the push for Japanese telecom companies to provide more services at a lower cost, we're in an unfamiliar territory with so much data being available at a very, very low cost. So those higher data options, those unlimited data options are available. I'm looking at you, Rakuten. Yeah, I want you. Anyway, there are other companies that provide it as well. You'll be able to look at all of the big ones. The big ones are SoftBank, AU, Docomo, and now Rakuten. They're killing it right now. That's not a plug. They're not a sponsor. I'm just saying. The cons are the higher startup if you don't already have a phone that allows for global SIM or that's already unlocked. So if you have an unlocked phone, you're fine. But if you don't have an unlocked phone, that first cost is going to be buying a phone. And you're wondering, why can't you just get a phone through the provider that you're going to go with? Good question. The reason why you can is because you are limited by your visa. Here's the thing. If they have a 2-year contract and you have a 1-year visa, why would they give you the contract when they don't know if you're going to stay? Your risk. They're not willing to accept that risk, so you need to either pay or you need to go with another option. And that's just, there's no way around that. That's just the way it works. Also, depending on where you're at, the next con is you're going to have to be able to use some Japanese. Now, your Google Translate will get you a long way, but some people refuse to deal with you if you don't speak Japanese. And it's not about xenophobia or anything like that. It's because you're signing a legally binding contract and you are responsible for what you're signing. But if you don't understand what you're signing, how can you, in good conscience and really good business sense, sign it, right? And so they're trying to protect you and protect themselves from a breach of contract when you don't even know what the contract is. So you're not really responsible if you breach it, right? Wrong. You are responsible, and they want to make sure that you know that you're responsible. So they probably won't deal with you. So a little bit of Japanese is going to be needed for that. So that's the cell phone choice, whether you go with the internet or the Interac provided or the self-provided via the marketplace. The next thing we're going to talk about is apartments, and this is a bit of a doozy, but it's not going to be that long. So with apartments, and actually it's not going to be too bad. I have my notes down here and it's not bad. So we talked about the moving in, that you're going to need to be thinking about, when you're going to move out, and that time has come. So the first thing you need to think about is your time frame. So if you're working with the Interac company, usually you need to give them 35 days notice that you want to move out of your apartment. So off the rip, we're starting 35 days back. All right. So 35 days back, you let them know you're going to move out. But before you want to let them move out, you need to know where you're going to move to. So are you leaving the country, or are you leaving the company, or are you just leaving that apartment? After you know what that is, then you need to backtrack. So let's say you're staying in the country, you just want to move the apartment, or you're staying with the company and staying in the country, but you want to move your apartment. So from there, I would go no less than 60 days back. Give yourself 90 days from the day that you want to move to the moment you begin you really begin your search. Because here's the thing, where you're looking for an apartment, they want someone who's going to be able to move in as soon as possible. 1, 2, you need to give yourself time to find an apartment and that's going to take some time depending on what you want. 3, you're going to need to give that company, that real estate company, the cushion time to write the contract, and the real estate agent will need to contact whoever the property manager is to coordinate that contract. That's going to take about 20 days. So, giving yourself that cushion, you're going to be able to do what you need to do, finding that apartment, getting it contract, and then moving into it. So with that, I referenced a real estate agent. So of course, you can find plenty of places online. There are plenty of commercials about it. I have a song stuck in my head from one of the real estate companies. I won't sing it here because I don't want it to be stuck in your head too, but I'm just gonna, it's green and it's just in my head all the time. Anyway, of course you can look at those companies online, but you're gonna need to find a real person to talk to about this. And if you Google it, you can find plenty of English speaking or Gaijin facing, foreign friendly real estate agencies that'll be able to help you find a place. I use one because I haven't cleared using their name in this video. I'm not going to recommend them overtly yet, but when I end up doing my interview with them, I'll of course post their information as well as interview with them so you understand the marketplace that you're walking into. But I will say right now, it's a very different marketplace than maybe where you're from. The deposit is high. I mean, if your rent is $1,000, think about your startup cost being $4,000 or $5,000 just to get into that apartment. That's rent, first month's deposit, key money, and let's say a pet fee if you have a cat, like I do. My beautiful, beautiful British short hair. So you're gonna have to think about all those things when you're moving into your apartment. The next thing is your notification. So I talked about notifying the company, but you have you have to notify your city at least 14 days prior to you leaving that city that you're going to move. So you have up until 14 days before the move out date to let them know. They're going to give you a form, and you're going to take that form to the new place that you're going to. The reason why you need to do this is because it's going to close out, if you're moving prefectures, it's going to close out your national health insurance. It's going to change your taxes, and it's going to change a lot of the notifications that you're going to receive for your essential services. Those things are going to move over to your new prefecture or new city. So you need to notify them of that so they can give you that form so you can give it to your new city and your new prefecture. All right, so that's the down and dirty version of your apartment section. There's of course a ton more I can talk about that, and I will dedicate an entire video to this later on. Let's get into the final section of the options. In the final section of the options, it feels like we're going backwards, but I wanted to leave this one for last because I think that it's the most concise, and I like to keep the easiest for last, and that is the internet. So here's the thing. You have two options for internet if you're with Interac. There's the Interac provided option, and then there's the self-service option, finding something in the marketplace. Interac options, pros and cons. Pros, it's easy. Just like the phone, you can just get it right off the bat. Also, the upfront costs and installation costs, non-existent. But the cons are you're limited in your data. I think the highest data that they had available last year was 50 gigs. 50 gigs is nothing if you're a heavy Netflix watcher, heavy YouTube watcher, or a gamer. I know somebody who went through 50 gigs of data in a week. I could go through 50 gigs of data in 2 videos, and that's just downloading, not uploading. So we're talking about not a lot of data. So if you're not a heavy user, then that might be fine. That might not be a con for you, but for most people, that's going to be a con. Your other option is the marketplace. So the marketplace is actually pretty good. Right now, I'm paying about 5,000 yen for fiber internet, which allows me to use unlimited internet. I'm uploading 2K video, 4K video, and not having any issue whatsoever. No slowdowns, no peak times, or anything like that I have to concern myself with. Whereas if you're using apartment provided, like Leo Palace provided, you have to worry about peak times and things like that. I don't have to worry about that. So that's a pro. Another pro is that so the cost is the pro, the speed is the pro, the data capacity is a pro. The con is you have to know some Japanese. Again, you have to know what you're signing up for, and no one wants you to sign on a dotted line if you don't understand what you're signing for. Also, there might be some installation, and you're going to have to coordinate with your landlord to see if they even want to allow you to have that installation done. So again, that's going to require some Japanese. That's going to require some coordination that maybe you don't feel comfortable doing yet. So that is a con, or maybe that's a barrier to entry for you. So that's just it. The internet option was pretty straightforward. Again, there is the service provided by Interac, and then there's the marketplace options. It's not just fiber in the marketplace. Of course, they have air options where they sell you an air modem and things like that. There are plenty of options available from the big companies, your SoftBank, Docomo, AU, as well as your smaller companies. Just give them a nice little Google, and you'll be able to find everything you're looking for. You've made it to our last section. Our last official section is coronavirus. So let's get right into that. All right, so the coronavirus. It's a big issue here in Japan. It's a big issue everywhere in the world. And if you're coming here during the coronavirus, you already know that you're going to come here and you're going to be under quarantine as of now for 14 days. At your school, as far as the school is concerned, there's plenty of preventive measures that you're going to have to deal with, whether it be daily mandatory temperature checks, spacing, as well as airflow and hand sanitizer and mandatory mask usage. The school is going to be wrapped up tight. As for the cities that you're living in, maybe there's going to be a limitation depending on your company. You may be limited in how many outings you can do. Maybe only essential outings for now until they have this all under wraps and all under control. But you'll see sanitation point or hand sanitizing points at every point of entry of any building that you walk into, as well as temperature checks in every building that you walk into. Like, this isn't a kind of country where you think you can have the option of doing whatever you want to do. No, you will do what the country asks you to do to keep the country safe. And you will look like an idiot if you walk on a train without your mask. I promise you this. It's not going to be good. You don't want those looks. I promise you. So, do that mask check every time you walk out. Like, oh, got my mask? Okay, I'm good to go. Because you're not going to be admitted in some restaurants, and they're going to look at you like you're a fool on the train. And you're not going to be able to walk into your school without a mask. Just letting you know. As for Japan as a whole, I just watched the news the other day. Starting in February, they're going to be doling out those vaccines, of course, in hierarchical order, and everyone will be provided with the vaccine. But do what you can to get that in your home country if you can. And then if you can't, then of course once you get here and they get you all settled, then maybe perhaps you can get that arranged once you get here. I don't know what that situation is going to be by the time you watch this video, and then by the time you actually get in the country. Hopefully you're far enough in the future and Corona's not a threat anymore, and we're all just living mask free and happy and all willy-nilly like we used to live. But I can't say that that's going to be a thing. And I'll have another video with another teacher, and we'll talk more in depth about how Corona has affected the classroom, because it's definitely changed things, and it's definitely going to be something you're going to have to adjust fire for. Okay, so it's time to answer some of the frequently asked questions, and these questions come from both the official Interac Group Facebook page and the unofficial page. So if you aren't a member of the unofficial page, I'll put a link to that below, as well as just some questions that I've seen around the way that I thought might be good to answer here. If you have any more questions, of course, comment below, and I might do an addendum to this video, like a second video that's just all questions. All right, so let's get into it. First question: I lost my billing statement for my taxes or my national health insurance. What do I do now? Freak out. I'm joking. All you have to do is go to City Hall and they can print you out a new slip for your payment. You can pay that anywhere, by the way. You can pay that at any convenience store. They have the capability of just scanning it and do it that way. If, let's say, you forgot your payment, believe me, they will remind you. You'll get a postcard that gives you an additional chance to pay that after the fact. So it'll be a postcard and I'll have that barcode on there so again, you can take that postcard to the convenience store. They'll scan it and you can pay it that way. Next question: how do I start utilities at a place not associated with the company? Usually this is going to be something that you're going to do with your real estate company. Go through them and they're going to help you set that up. Usually you won't be doing this on your own unless you're buying a place, and even then you're going to have a broker or someone who's going to be helping you set that up. For anything else, go to the utilities website. You can also use some kind of plug-in on your browser, and that'll allow you to figure out how to start up in case you don't have any help with that. All right, next question. I heard people gain a lot of weight their first year. Yeah, so about that gym membership. Okay. All right, so some people do gain some weight their first year here. The school lunches are packed with calories, and yeah, there's a risk that you could gain some weight. The gym, though, gyms are a luxury good. The cost for a regular gym membership is about 7,000 yen a month. That's crazy compared to about 10 to 15 bucks a month in places like America. So I would suggest you invest in a mat and YouTube, and you go at it at home, or you just watch out for drinking or for eating all that rice at work. Other than that, just try to keep active, try to keep yourself in a calorie deficit. I'm not a physical trainer anymore, so you'll have to figure that out. Next question. My bank book is gone, lost, or it doesn't work, and also I lost my debit card. What do I do? Just go to the post office. As long as you have your Hanko, or you have some verification of your identity, like your Zayu card, you should be able to order both a new card and a new book. The new book you'll get there on the spot. A new card they'll ship to you in the mail. It'll take about a week for you to get it, but you can still use that book to get money out of your account. So you won't be without money. You'll just need to go into the post office to do that. Fortunately, the hours are kind of weird. I think it's like somewhere between like 9 to 5, so you'll have to take some time off to go, but small price to pay to be able to pay. So next question. What kind of shoes do you wear at school? Is this a big deal? I hear a lot of people saying this is a big deal, but honestly, I don't see this as a big deal at all. I've looked at all the kinds of shoes that I've seen as far as teachers wear, what teachers wear. I've seen anywhere from Air Force Ones to I've seen Jordans, I've seen loafers, I've seen just dress shoes, your regular loafer dress shoes. I haven't seen heels, so I've only seen that on ceremonial occasions. But yeah, no, like there's no real rule other than, make sure that those shoes aren't going to leave a mark on the ground. Those rubber soles, or some soles do leave some marks on the ground when you're pivoting and walking around all fast. So that's really just the rule. No one cares about the color. Whatever you wear, just that's going to be whatever's normal for you. All right, so I've worn everything. I've worn Nikes that have cherry blossoms all over them. I've worn Chucks of every kind of color. Right now I'm wearing some Asics that are like orange. It doesn't matter. The students will be like, "Ooh, nice," and then you're like, after that wow factor's gone, you're back to the grind. So don't really concern yourself with shoes. As long as they're comfortable and you can stand up in them all day, that's what you need to worry about. Don't be worried about the color. Cool. Next question. Can I play a musical instrument in my apartment? I'm trying to jam. No. Usually the answer is no to that. If you want to play your musical instrument, the best place to go is to go to a karaoke bar, or not bar, but the rooms. And you can just rent it out for an hour and then jam to your heart's content in that room. But in most cases, the walls are incredibly thin, and your landlord will probably kill you if you're playing your instrument super loud. Or if you have like some capability of using a headset, like let's say you have a guitar, and you can plug a headset into the amp or whatever, so they can't hear it. They can only hear you plucking the strings. That'd be cool. Or same thing with piano. But most cases, you're gonna need to take that somewhere else. They do have special apartments for musical instruments, but again, that's something that you're gonna have to make a choice about. A next question is along the same vein, and it's, can I bring a pet? Good question. You can bring a pet to Japan. It's a hassle. It's a process, and that process does exist. People do that, but you kind of got to think about where that pet's going to stay, because your apartment needs to be pet friendly. And for your place to be pet friendly, you need to make sure that is the case. It's usually going to cost an extra deposit. I know plenty of people want to do it, but when it comes down to doing it, they just don't. I've almost gone through the process, or I've gone through part of the process before on the state side end, but it requires vaccines being so many days and then a second vaccine being so many days. There's just a lot of logistics that you're going to need to keep up with to make sure it's done. But yeah, it is possible. The next question is, how are school lunches healthy? Are there any allergy concerns? The school lunches are healthy. For the most part, I haven't had any super unhealthy school lunches. As far as allergy concerns, there are some allergy concerns, but the students also have those allergy concerns. You're not alone in that. And you can see what's on the menu for the month, so they can prepare for your allergies, or you can prepare something for your allergies. And you can also elect not to eat the school lunch. You can just eat on your own, but I don't know. I love the school lunch, so that's just me. Okay, the next question is about voltage. Someone has a computer, they have a PlayStation, Xbox, or whatever, and they're worried about playing or bringing your video games over. That hasn't been an issue. I brought over my American-bought PlayStation 4, and I haven't had any issues with the voltage or anything like that. You can always get those universal travel things, but I only use my universal travel, adapter for my clippers, because I shave my head, and then I have to kind of adjust the voltage to that manually on the clippers itself. But I haven't seen any issues with my PlayStation. I don't have a PC, so I'll leave that to somebody else to answer as far as PCs are concerned. But if you have like a modern PC, you should be able to be fine. But in any case, please look that up for your individual PC and Mac if you have one. So the next question is, how long are you at the same school? And so, okay, here's the answer to that. I've been at the same school for 3.5 years. Since I got here, I've been at the same school. And so long as the BOE keeps this contract, I'll be at this school. I love this school. I've created a system. That system is mine, and I don't see any reason to leave it. And it's because of the contract that I'm in that I never have to. There is a different kind of contract that you can only stay at a school for 3 years, and then you have to move. Lucky for me, I don't have a contract like that. So pay attention to what kind of contract you're signing. That's going to determine how you're receiving orders on what you're going to do, as well as who is your actual supervisor as opposed to your acting supervisor on the Japanese side of things. So again, you could have a few years with one school and then have to move, or you could just be with the school indefinitely. And also year to year, the requirements that the BOE has might change. But one thing that's not changing is all the schools have to teach English as a subject. That has been the curriculum change from a couple of years ago, and it's actually really being enforced now. So the transition period is over. All schools are going to need to have English teachers or an English program. But how that's going to be implemented by your Board of Education, well, anyone's guess. The next question is about seasonal clothing in the classroom. How cold is it? How hot is it? How do you survive? Do I need to wear a suit every single day in the summer? All right, so right now it's really cold. This is what I wore to school today. I wore this hoodie over my suit, or my shirt and tie, but that's my school. My school is used to my fashion selections, and they've kind of acclimated to me. I've been there longer than a lot of the teachers that have been there. But I'm still coming correct. I have like a suit, or I have a shirt and tie, and I have a blazer in my locker at school. So this is just an example of what I will wear in the winter. I also have sweaters and things like that I wear over turtleneck sometimes too. But I would say just, dress appropriate for your position and appropriate for the weather. That being said, there is something called Cool Biz, and Cool Biz starts around May, June. I think after Golden Week, around the rainy season. They start that, and what that is guys are allowed to wear short sleeve button-up shirts and or polos depending on your school, and that's so that they prevent the wastefulness of electricity. You know, they don't want to have to waste electricity on people who are wearing full suits to school. So you do have that capability. You don't have to wear a tie. You can have an open top button as well. So that's something that is done for guys. For women, you have a ton of flexibility in your wardrobe, so long as you don't wear any short skirts, which is kind of ironic given the fact that high school girls are forced to wear short skirts. Anyway, you don't have to adhere to as many of the standards as guys do. Just dress professional, and you're good to go. As far as seasonal clothing in the classroom, you can't wear a scarf or big big coat in the classroom, but you can wear a jacket. I'm wearing a hoodie. I've seen plenty of other teachers wear a bunch of different things. So again, read the air, read your class, read your school standards. The company line is it needs to be this one way, but again, once you're on your own, you're charged with doing what you have to do to survive. So I would talk to your school leadership to make sure everything's on the up and up, and then move accordingly. Okay, next question is, okay, cool. My Japanese is not good. Can I survive? Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, you're encouraged not to speak any Japanese in the classroom at all. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be learning Japanese, because like I said a lot of times in this video, there are things that will be closed off to you if you can't speak Japanese. And also, why move to a foreign country and not learn the foreign language of the country that which you live? You should be learning the language so that you can interact with more people. It's not just about teaching, it's about also learning, and the more you learn the language, the better teacher you're going to be. I promise you that. So if your Japanese is trash now, it should not be trash a year from now. If you're coming into the country, you should be getting a little bit better every single day. No pressure. It's going to make your life a lot easier, and it's going to make your experience a lot richer if you do learn the language. How do I make friends? I'll roll this into the next one. How do I date? I think I made a video about how I dated in country. You can check that video out. I'll put that up there in the info box or over there, wherever it is. Making friends, join meetup.com. Meetup is a good place to do it. Also, you're going to have festivals for your city or your towns. Go to those. I highly encourage that. And say yes. Say yes to odd things that people ask you to do just to hang out. I mean, of course, within reason. But interact with people as much as you possibly can. You never know what's going to happen. There is this stereotype that it takes a long time to build friendships with Japanese people. But yeah, like, you should value that. You don't want somebody who's just like, oh, wow, we hung out once, now we're best friends. It's really superficial. But if you really build something, if you really build your reputation, if you really build trust, and you really build a friendship, it's actually worth a lot more than just making friends quickly. I would rather grow something slow and strong than grow something quick and weak, you know? So there's that. And then, of course, the dating thing, again, you can check out that link for that. I'm not going to get into that here. That would be a long video in and of itself. Next question. I love to cook, but the kitchens are so small. Do you have any advice? Well, I have a slow cooker. I have an air fryer. I have like a small hot plate that's like gas powered that I can just cook more stuff on. Yeah, you're going to have to get creative with your appliances. And Amazon has a bunch of different things that you can buy to make your life better, especially because you're not going to have a oven. Generally speaking, you're not going to have an oven. You'll have a fish grill, but you won't have an oven where you can bake things. I invested very early in figuring out how to make things in my rice cooker, make things on the microwave, make things on the stove, and things like that. I'm an avid cooker as well, and I understand the need and the want and the desire and the passion to cook. But you're gonna need to, put a little bit of creativity and money into that.
if you really want to make and create and do a lot of things in the kitchen. So if you want some ideas, I'll put a link below in the helpful links section. And that link is to my favorite recipe site. And I'll put a link to my cooking page. You can see some of the stuff that I make in the kitchen. All of it's pretty accessible, pretty easy, but delicious, because I love to eat. All right, next question. If I were to bring more things, because I love the kitchen so much, I would have brought more seasonings. It sounds weird, but like restocking on all of my base seasonings that I usually use in the kitchen that taste like home, trying to find those or remake those is really difficult. Like, for example, if you like Cajun food and you like that Creole taste and seasoning, and you don't have some Tony Chachere's when you come here, I think that's Tony Chachere's. When you come here, you're that Creole mix, which, I mean, it's a good, project, but it'd be better if you just brought it with you, right? So I think I would have brought more spices. I know that's probably not what people want to hear, but there's that. Everything else, I probably brought too much clothing. Yeah, I brought a lot of stuff, and I had a lot of stuff shift over because I knew I was going to stay here. So that was just me. All right. So thank you so much for watching this very long video. I really appreciate it. Below, you're going to find links to the pages that I've recommended during this video. You're going to get a link to Notion. What Notion is a platform for you to be productive, and it's going to be your home base for your life in Japan if you decide to use it. I would suggest you take a look at it and use what you can, and what you can't, throw it away. It's a template, so you can delete anything you want in there. Also, there's a link below to those the other pages that I talked about as far as the cooking pages and the recipe pages and things like that. If you like the music from that, there's a playlist link as well. That music is from Epidemic, and there's a referral link to them down below. It's what I use for all my royalty-free music, and that's going to be big because if you want to use music in the classroom, that music, generally speaking, should be royalty-free or without copyright or something like that, because of the copyright laws here in Japan. They would prefer that you did not use copyrighted things, but if you want to see more of that music, or if you want to use that music for your own creative stuff, then that link is down there as well as all the other things that can lead you around, all the videos that I've made about Japan and my life here. If you like this video and you want to see more like it, subscribe and hit the bell so you can get a notification for every time that I make one of these videos. I thank you so much for watching, and I hope you got something out of it. It took a lot of time to put together, but I thought that it would be a fruitful endeavor. Well, until next time, I'm Dontae. This was Dontae Dakara. See ya.